Hey everybody, how's it going? I'm reviewing VHS 2 today, a movie that came out in 2013. This is the second entry in the popular VHS franchise. There were originally three films: VHS, VHS 2, and Viral. And Viral kind of killed the series for a very long time, about 6 or 7 years, and then they did a soft reboot with VHS 94. And now I think the series is pretty popular. They have a new one coming out every year on Shudder, and people enjoy it. None of these, it's a series of short films. None of them are particularly fantastic, but there's some good ones. They're fun. They're all pretty pulpy, enjoyable flicks. And like in my VHS review, if you want to watch that, I mentioned that one of the reasons I like this series is because they give an opportunity to up and coming directors to do something crazy, experimental, try something out that they maybe otherwise would not have been able to. And I really like that. And out of that comes some really good shorts sometimes. All of these are found footage, and in general, they try to have an analog approach to them, which I really like. I like analog horror, so they often look like they were shot on tape or handheld, camera or what have you. And there's some creative ways in which they utilize, found footage. So I watched this one when it came out, 2013, and I've probably seen it twice, and then I just recently rewatched it. So three times total. The first movie I probably watched six times. I remember watching this, and I kind of thought some of the stuff was interesting, but there was a lot of segments that didn't really do it for me. But it was okay. And rewatching this one, I'll tell you right away, didn't really care for this, especially compared to the first. Now, a lot of people say that this is their favorite in the series. There's like 7 or 8 of them now. And a lot of people rate this a lot higher than VHS 1. But for me, not the case. This is all going to have spoilers. I'm going to talk about these segments. So if you haven't seen this, I'm going to spoil stuff. We start with the frame narrative, that the wraparound that links everything together. This is a kind of running theme throughout the series, and while I really like that idea, and I talked about in VHS 1 how I always was really intrigued by that idea, but then upon rewatching found them to not be very good. That's the case again here. The frame narrative is called Tape 49, and it's I'm not even going to get into it, but I'll tell you that execution wise, poor. I think the concept of what they were trying to do in linking back to the first film was kind of creative, but we just have some weak acting and a script that is just not very great. And it ends up being, again, one of those things where while I love the concept of a frame narrative, I wish they just cut it out of the movie. So I'm not going to factor that into my rating, but I'm not a big fan of Tape 49. All right, the first segment is called Phase 1 Clinical Trials. I have a list here, directed by Adam Wingard. This is basically about a guy that has an eye injury, so he gets an ocular implant that's like a camera, and that's how we get our found footage. He goes home and he starts seeing ghosts, and that's basically what we have here. He hooks up with this woman literally later on who comes over to his apartment or his house, and she has a cochlear implant from hearing damage, and she can hear ghosts. So he can see ghosts, she can hear ghosts. I thought that was kind of unique. Yeah, I remember, again, perspectives change over time. I remember thinking that this one was pretty okay, interesting, but rewatching it, this is a really, really rough way to start this movie. This story is kind of doesn't go anywhere. The ghosts that he sees are not at all terrifying and kind of underwhelming. It doesn't really look that great. I mean, the cinematography is okay, but it doesn't have that sort of really grainy snuff film kind of look that I like from the series. And my lord, there is some bad acting in this, especially when the woman comes over. Her acting is very distracting to this segment. This is a really poor way to start the movie. I'm going to give Phase 1 Clinical Trials a 1 out of 5. It is rough, and I don't care to watch it ever again. Next, we have A Ride in the Park, directed by Eduardo Sanchez and Greg Hale. This is about a guy who goes to a state park, like a forest, to go biking. He's got a GoPro attached to his helmet, so that's how we view the movie, and he gets bit by a zombie, which he thinks is a woman trying, he's trying to help, and he gets bit and he turns into a zombie, and then we just have a zombie flick on our hands. Um, I think that there is some creativity in this one. I like that the protagonist switches to the antagonist. It's not really a true antagonist, with horrible motives. It's just a zombie, but I do like that switch in perspective. I think is creative. Um, However, I never really cared for this one, and I still don't. I like zombie movies; they're fun. I just think that this has no substance in it. It just is a guy running around biting people, and there's really nothing here. I don't think that every short horror flick needs to be deep or anything like that. But there's like nothing of substance here. The ending where his girlfriend calls him again, which is some really really distracting acting for the phone call, and he has this moment of humanity and ends up shooting himself with a shotgun, is supposed to come off as this sort of poignant ending, and it's just so cheesy that it almost feels unintentionally funny. So Ride in the Park doesn't have enough substance for me at all. I'm going to give it a 2 out of 5. It's not completely terrible, but again, it's one that's pretty forgettable to me. Next is a segment called Safe Haven, directed by Timo Chiayanto and Gareth Evans. This is famous. This is considered to be many people's favorite segment, and I understand it's by far and away the best segment in this movie. And I do think it's one of the best segments in the VHS canon. Like I've said before, I don't think any of these segments, if you were to pull them out of the movie, are great. They're all pulpy. I don't think that Safe Haven, if I watched it as a standalone flick, would be incredibly impressive to me. There's some suspect acting and some cheesy lines like a lot of these, but in the context of VHS, I'm going to rate it 5 out of 5. This is about a documentary crew. It's kind of shot like a mockumentary or a documentary investigating a cult, like a doomsday cult in Indonesia. And there's a longer runtime for this one than most of them. This runs about 30 minutes. A lot of them are 15 to 20 minutes. And with that longer runtime, we have some character development and a little bit of layering of the story that you don't tend to see in this franchise. And it's just this very creepy cult, with school children that are being indoctrinated and a lot of weird stuff going on. And about halfway through, shit hits the fan and it just goes nuts. It goes balls to the walls. They go for broke throughout this thing. And, this doesn't have anything really insightful to say about cult mentality. It has no deep introspective thoughts on cults. It just uses it as a setting for a crazy story. The reason I give it 5 out of 5, first off, it's very creative in the found footage aspect of showing interviews through the film crew. There are body cams that we see. We also see closed CCTV footage of security footage in black and white. So it's creative in the way it switches things up, but it is just a crazy bloodbath towards the end. It's very extremely violent. There's some good effects, and you just can't really see where it's going. I mean, you kind of can, but it just goes so off the walls. There, again, nothing deep. It's very pulpy, but it's just very satisfying and exactly what I would want to see from the series. That's why I give it 5 out of 5. The only thing that really brings it down a little bit, if I was watching this separately, I'd rate it less, is the acting is okay sometimes, and there's a few CGI shots that are pretty obvious, especially the way they cut away from some of the like really visceral violence. It's pretty obvious sometimes, but yeah, Safe Haven is a must watch. Safe Haven is the reason you're going to watch VHS 2, in my opinion. It's a shame it's sandwiched in between these really mediocre segments, but yeah, it's totally worth checking out. It's super violent. If you're not okay with that, really none of these are good for you, but that one in particular has got some intense stuff. It's a lot of fun. And we end, there's only 4 in this one. I believe there were 5 segments in VHS. Slumber Party Alien Abduction. What a title. I think that this one also got a spin off movie. I could be mistaken. I'm not sure what it's called. And even if that's true, but I think it did. This was directed by Jason Eisner. This is basically about a group of kids at their lake house. I believe their parents go away for a night or whatever, and it's some teenage kids, a couple of younger teenage kids, a couple older high school kids, and some aliens show up and abduct them. That's what's going on. This one I do have memories of watching when this came out. And pardon me, I'm gonna take a sip of water. And the thing that I remember about this is the way they portrayed the alien craft, the UFO. It's shown as really bright, super blinding lights and this extremely loud foghorn sound. And I always really like that because I love cosmic horror. I love when horror doesn't show you the monster, it finds it scarier to not show you it, or they show you just enough. I guess the concept that what you don't see is scarier than what you see. And I liked the way that they portrayed the UFO as just blinding light and a foghorn sound, which is kind of a weird choice. It kind of found that a bit creepy. So that always stuck out to me. But again, rewatching this is a rough segment. It's nothing more than a generic alien abduction story. It just doesn't go anywhere. The script is bad. Granted, these are, we got really young 12, 13-year-old kids and high school kids, and it goes for that pulpy angle, so there's some cheesy dialogue, which you would expect. But this reads like what an adult thought that kids like this would talk like. The dialogue is way over the top. You can't take it seriously. And I don't know if they were going for a horror comedy route, but it doesn't work. The dialogue is bad. And the acting, granted, there's some younger kids, so I'm a little more lenient, but the acting is not good at all. Rough throughout. And then they do show you the aliens, and it ruins this sort of cosmic horror appeal. Another thing that I enjoyed is how you see they have a dog, and I think a little terrier, and they use a GoPro on the dog, and you get a lot of shots through the perspective of the dog. And if they had kept that for the whole thing, this would win some more points by doing something creative, showing an alien abduction through the view of a family pet. That would be cool. But they kind of cop out and take the GoPro off the dog and run around with it, which is not believable. I mean, I guess you do have to suspend your belief to a degree in found footage. But yeah, this one is rough throughout. This gets a 1 out of 5. It's something I just have a hard time sitting through. And unfortunately, we begin and end this movie with really, really rough segments. So overall, I give VHS 2 a 2 out of 5. I think Safe Haven is a lot of fun. It's one of the, if not the best VHS segment in general, and it's by far the best in this movie. And I totally recommend, if you have this available to watch on streaming or something, checking out. I mean, sure, if you want to be a completionist, check out the whole movie. But definitely check out Safe Haven. It's worth watching. I don't think a lot of these are worth watching. I would say VHS, there's some rough moments, but watch the whole thing. This one, it's definitely something to skip. And I know that's maybe not a very popular opinion. Like I said at the beginning, folks do love this one and rate it highly, but this is not a great entry. And we're going to review VHS Viral, which is pretty universally hated. That movie is a dumpster fire, and I'm kind of excited to talk about it. But then they brought things around again with VHS 94, which I just recently watched for the first time. So anyways, those are my thoughts on VHS 2. It's kind of a letdown, but we have Safe Haven in there. So let me know what your thoughts are on these segments. If you liked any of these, totally cool. I'd love to hear from you and what you think about this franchise in general. Yeah, and if you're watching any horror movies, I know it's September, but like I said, I'm getting into horror early because I want to. So I'll see you all next time. Peace out. Have a great day.